tyranny of Frieza. Frieza searches out Guru, the Namek Elder, and attempts to gain the secret password that will unlock the power of the Dragon Ball. But Guru's personal bodyguard, Nail, is determined to stop Frieza at any cost. As Frieza prepares to confront Nail's challenge, little does the tyrant realize Guru has already passed his knowledge on to Dende and sent the young Namek to rejoin the Z Warriors.
Let's get going!
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Vegeta Show starring Vegeta. I was originally going to comment on how odd it is that they didn't merge the Ginyu Saga and Frieza Saga, but not only is this game short as it is, it doesn't contain the Buu Saga at all, presumably because Avalanche Studios looked at the Buu Saga and said, yeah, no, there's no way we can do that in time. So there are at least 3 destructible objects in the environment on this first screen, and I intend to use all 3 of them. It's a little difficult to make them trigger, but it should be possible. And we did already nab the first 2. So if you weren't looking at the objective screen at the start of the level, which I won't blame you because I did scroll it by really fast, we also have to protect Dende this mission. It's worth noting that Dende can die reasonably quickly considering how easy the rest of the game is. If you're playing on normal mode, it's not even a concern, but we are playing on hard here. And I think this is one of the few situations where hard mode may actually be harder in a way that's not mind-numbing. There are also a couple of walls we can hurl enemies into on this screen, but they're way harder to trigger. I want to give the game credit here though for making the elevation count for something, because there are some beat-em-ups I've played where the elevation isn't even a factor, which is a shame and a complete waste. But here, it actually becomes much harder to pull off your combos on elevated platforms. It also becomes much harder to shoot enemies with your special attacks, and considering your combos are the main method of attack you're going to be using, I think that's noteworthy. Back when I played this game when I was a kid, I always just spammed the special attack over and over because I thought combos were a waste of time and I had trouble using them. I think that's just because I liked the button mash back then. You can definitely beat the game by spamming the special attack over and over, but I wouldn't recommend it. It will be very useful in a later video, but for the most part just using your combos kills enemies way faster. Hell yes, I actually did that one on purpose. You know, a lot of the bad and mediocre games I play, a lot of them are incredibly difficult, which only adds to the frustration and lack of appeal, I would imagine. But Dragon Ball Z Sagas is not like that. Dragon Ball Z Sagas is not terribly hard. There's no barrier for enjoying bad movies, you know. You know the movie's bad and you can enjoy it anyway. So it's refreshing to see a bad game that isn't all that difficult, so I can totally recommend that people go play it themselves. This isn't good, but there's nothing about it to prevent you from picking it up and beating it yourself. And remember, I'm playing on hard mode right now. I would totally condone you playing on easy mode if you want to, because the differences are almost non-existent except for the enemies taking more hits. Hell, just running through and steamrolling the shit out of everybody might be the best way to play it all. You might have noticed that Dende started glowing green back there, or maybe not if you weren't paying attention, which I wouldn't blame you. Also, this fight accidentally looks like a fight from a good beat-em-up. This guy actually blocks and he dodges out of the way, and this brief clip would probably make the game look a lot better than almost anything else I could show you. It's a shame the enemies don't do more of that and, you know, actually counterattack with any kind of frequency. If they used their dodges more and blocked more and attacked you more, then I could see this game being a lot more fun. Maybe that's just for me though, because that would probably turn the game into the kind of experience I was talking about most people not enjoying, where the game is not only bad, but it's really hard. I kinda like when bad games try to kick my ass, because at least then I can talk about strategy, you know? No one's going to listen because no one else will play the game, but at least that gives me something interesting to say. If you're confused because I just said it was refreshing to see a bad game that isn't hard, well, I can want both, right? I can like bad games that are really hard and also like bad games that aren't very hard, for very different reasons. Bad games that aren't hard are just easier to share with people. I'm sorry, Dende. Back to a train of thought I left a while ago. Dende glows green sometimes, and although it may not be obvious, he's actually healing you when he does that, which strikes me as a tad bit excessive. You can see here that Dende's health is decreasing rather rapidly, which makes me wonder why he doesn't heal himself. Obviously, the entire gameplay challenge is that he can't heal himself, but I'm not the person who needs healing. Dende also has this weird tendency to fly right into the middle of a battle on the front lines instead of stay back like Dende actually would. I assume this is to make him easier to hit for the enemies, but it still looks incredibly stupid. This game's not much for enemy variety, is it? We fought one red guy this entire level so far, and I appreciate them trying, and I do mean trying, to put the enemies with projectiles in places where they have sniping advantages, but it's just so useless, it's futile. You know, the enemies on Namek are actually harder, but it might have been nearly impossible to notice because of how gradual the increase in difficulty is. You know, this might go without saying normally, but I like that you can see the enemy's health while they're off screen. That's actually very nice. You know, I never really thought about it before, but I'm not sure where this fits into beat-em-ups as far as inspiration goes. This game decidedly isn't all that modern, but there's almost nothing about it that's in line with old beat-em-ups either. Then again, Avalanche might not have been trying to make a beat-em-up and they just accidentally made one anyway. The game had been advertised as an action-adventure pretty much anywhere you looked. But this is a very linear screen-to-screen game with incredibly simple brawling mechanics. Now, I will grant you that action-adventure is a wide net to cast, but I don't feel anything particularly adventure-y about this game. You'll notice that Dende is still hovering around right on the front lines, exactly where he shouldn't be. If this level seems like it's going on kind of a long time, that's because there's only 2 levels in the Frieza Saga. There's this one, and then there's the actual fight against Frieza. And you may be asking yourself, how does that make any sense? We have a lot of ground to cover, like Frieza's multiple transformations and Piccolo. Well, we'll get to that. This level probably has the most variety out of any of the levels in the game. This level switches gears 2 more times, it just takes a while for it to switch gears the first time. You know, I think it's kind of insulting that Senzu beans are a thing in this game. In case it's not obvious, they are extra lives. But no matter what difficulty you're playing on, you're not going to need extra lives. Can I give his Dende one of my Senzu beans? It seems like he might need it. In spite of his constant giggling, it kind of seems like he's, you know, about to die. Sometimes I look at these upgrade stations and think, man, should I have shown those off? But then immediately I answer myself with no, hell no.
You must kill all enemies before proceeding. Don't let them hurt Dende.
And this is finally where the game switches gears the first time. Now, we still do have to protect Dende, but it's a little different. This time Dende can't die, and when they hit him, he just stops transferring to Dragon Balls. There's also the introduction of a new enemy type, those red dinosaur guys. They're capable of summoning an airstrike, so it's beneficial to kill them first. Granted, the airstrike they summon doesn't hurt you very much, but it can be a little irritating because it's surprisingly accurate. You might not even notice that they're the ones summoning the airstrike, but they are. As a kid, I certainly didn't notice, but this is hard mode where everything takes more damage, so there's opportunities to see some things that you might not have otherwise. These guys are also really super shitty at trying to hit Dende. With how detached this game feels from Dragon Ball Z and the normal beat-em-up sections, you might forget that these guys are working for Frieza. Frieza would definitely want them to focus on Dende in this situation. It's worth noting that even after Dende successfully moves all the Dragon Balls, you still have to fight whatever wave you're currently facing. You know, it actually would have been really cool if the airstrikes targeted Dende instead of you. That way you would have way more way more urgency in getting rid of the guys that can do that, and the airstrikes would feel like more of an annoyance. If the game isn't going to be hard either way, they could still frustrate you into taking out certain enemies first. But as you can see here, even though I said it was beneficial to take out the red guy first, I just kind of stopped caring. They seemed to stop caring too, because they just stood there and stared at me for a while. Oh my god, I did the roundhouse. The roundhouse is really hard to pull off, because the enemies almost always block it. Well, that's over. It's time to meet Frieza now.
Gohan uses the Namekian Dragon Balls to wish Piccolo back to life. And with the return of Piccolo, the Earth's Dragon Balls also reappear. With Goku still recuperating from the battle with Captain Ginyu, Vegeta seizes the opportunity to make his own wish for immortality. But just as he prepares to voice his wish, on the other side of the planet, Elder Guru's life expires under the strain of Frieza's torment. With his passing, the Namekian Dragon Balls turn to stone. Badly injured and filled with grief over his beloved master's demise, Nail is determined to have the last laugh. He informs Frieza that without Guru, the quest for the Dragon Balls is over. Furious, Frieza races back to his ship to find the Dragon Balls ruined and his dreams of immortality shattered. Frieza vows revenge and turns the full force of his wrath on the one most responsible for his failure, Vegeta.
I won't let you win!
You must hold off Frieza until Piccolo arrives!
That really awkward sideways stare down between Vegeta and Frieza is one of my favorite things in this entire game. So I took this fight as an opportunity to show off a mechanic that you won't get to see otherwise. We can knock someone into the air and then perform a combo that smashes them back down into the ground. This is good for only one thing, and that is wasting time. So this is the only place you'll ever need to use it. Okay, well you don't need to use it, but this is the only place where it's even remotely useful is what I mean. You could waste Frieza's time just as easily by using the longest combo, but this attack seems to be specifically made to waste time, so I figured I have to show it off, right? It's a little sad that it looks so cool, but it does so little damage. We can't hurt Frieza anyway, so it would be impossible to decrease his health no matter what we do. But if we were using it against a regular enemy or a boss, you'd see exactly how useless it is. At least you can clearly see I wasn't lying about this being the most varied level in the game. I don't think those airstrike enemies ever even return. I suppose 2 of 3 of the objectives in this level are just about waiting, though. You have to wait for Dende to move the Dragon Balls, and you have to wait for Piccolo to arrive. But both of those things are different from what you normally do in the game still. It's worth noting that Frieza doesn't use Death Beam here. Seems like a massively wasted opportunity if you ask me.
Wished back to life on the planet Namek, Piccolo uses the Namekian fusion technique to merge with the injured Nail. Their powers combined, incredible new strength surges through Piccolo's body, and he races to join the battle against Frieza. Meanwhile, Vegeta has only begun to realize Frieza's destructive potential as the evil tyrant undergoes the first of 3 powerful transformations. Little does Vegeta know, the worst is yet to come.
So Frieza can't use the Death Ball, but with this new transformation he can use the Supernova. Granted, it's a tiny novelty supernova, but it's the supernova all the same. Unfortunately, when he hits you with it, the planet doesn't explode and you don't die instantly. It barely deals any damage, just like every other attack in the game. At least they bothered to put it in. So it may be obvious, but this is exactly the same as the first half. We still just have to wait for Piccolo to show up. And it kinda takes a while.
He's getting away!
Piccolo makes a dramatic entrance onto the battlefield. His strength multiplied by the fusion with Nail, Piccolo seems to have the upper hand, at least until Frieza undergoes his second powerful transformation. The tide of battle quickly turns, and as Piccolo begins to falter, Gohan is forced to enter the fray. But even fighting with all his might, the young Saiyan proves to be only a minor annoyance to the evil Frieza as he transforms into his third and most powerful form. Super Saiyan Goku. His body finally healed, Goku returns to the battlefield in time to witness the horrific results of Frieza's murderous rampage. Dende and Vegeta have been killed. Piccolo lies near the brink of death, and when Krillin is destroyed right before his very eyes, Goku has seen enough. His rage explodes, and in a burst of power, he is transformed into a Super Saiyan. Faced with this new threat, Frieza launches an energy attack at the planet Namek itself. The blast penetrates the planet's core, triggering an unstoppable chain reaction that will ultimately cause the planet to explode. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Kami and Mr. Popo gather the Dragon Balls and use them to wish all of Frieza's victims back to life. Guru is revived, thus restoring the Namekian Dragon Balls to their original luster. The clock ticking, Dende quickly summons Porunga and wishes that everyone on the doomed planet Namek be transported to the safety of Earth. Everyone, that is, except Goku and Frieza. With his friends safely off the planet, Goku has chosen to stay behind, determined to put an end to Frieza's evil ways once and for all. But will his Super Saiyan strength be enough to stop the most powerful villain the universe has ever known?
I'll send you to the next dimension. I won't let you get away with this! Use melee combat to increase your Super Saiyan potential!
So this is about where the game introduces us to a new mechanic, and in case it's not obvious, that mechanic is turning Super Saiyan. We have another bar down there. We start off the fight in Super Saiyan form, and we actually deal a lot of damage to Frieza, as you're seeing. Like, his health bar is going down way faster than most any other boss in the game. You can thank Super Saiyan for that. The weird thing is that the game kinda introduces us to the mechanic incorrectly. You can see down there that our Super Saiyan meter is steadily decreasing, and eventually we will turn back into regular Goku. Normally this isn't a problem because you can still damage the bosses as regular Goku. It's just that being Super Saiyan does way more damage. That's not the case with Frieza. You have to be in Super Saiyan mode to deal damage. In case you're wondering how we get Super Saiyan mode back, we have to perform melee combos. It very slowly refills our meter, and I do mean very slowly. Look at how little that went up. This turns the entire fight with Frieza into a massive slog, even more sloggy than most of the sloggy boss fights. Because look at how many times I'm hitting him and knocking him over. This is a little bit ridiculous. Why did they do this? Why did they make the meter take so long to get back up? Why did they not allow me to deal damage to Frieza in the meantime? And not only that, but even after you fill up the meter, you still have to transform, which requires your key meter to be full, and that's kinda difficult with Frieza smacking you around. But now that we finally transform and get our Super Saiyan form back, it will be very easy to finish him off. I also think that Frieza should be incapable of blocking your attacks when you're in Super Saiyan form, because that just wastes more of your time. But hey, at least this is the only time in the game where you'll ever have to do something like this.
Frieza is defeated, but the victory comes at a high price, as the planet Namek explodes in a fiery cloud. Back on Earth, fears run high that Goku did not escape the blast in time. The Z-Warriors mourn the loss of their friend, but they vow to use the Dragon Balls to wish him back.